Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Find a Moment podcast, where we navigate the space between ideals and everyday life. We are your hosts, Gretchen Roberts and Jennifer Ford, and we look forward to finding a moment with you today. Hey, welcome back to Find a Moment podcast. This is Jennifer, and Gretchen's here too. Today, we are continuing our series called Honest Parenting, and we have really just left the number of episodes in this series open because we keep having discussions that are longer than we expected. We keep finding more friends that we want to talk to and share their stories with you. And we really believe that this topic is just foundational and universal to so much of what the people around us experience. And we hope that our conversations are encouraging and just bringing a sense of normalcy to the hard things and the everyday things of parenting. I think we all come into it with ideals, and we have these plans and images in our mind of what it's going to be like to raise our families, and then we have everyday life, and we find out that things are harder and more complex and difficult at times than maybe what we expected or what other people have maybe led us to believe. So today we are recording episode 7 of the series, and there's lots that we've already done before now. If you haven't listened to any of these yet, please go back and just pick an episode, find somewhere to start. Today is one of 2 episodes that we're doing where we are interviewing, and this episode is with some really special friends. Today we're thrilled to have our special friends Kalee and Anouk here, and Kalee is a sweet friend from our church. We've led worship together for a really long time. Not sure how many years. Many. And 15. Yeah. Wow. That is more impressive than I was thinking. Okay. We've got a lot of life there. And then Anouk, your husband, is also on the worship team, sweet Carlos. And so we would love to just start with hearing you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you are in your parenting journey, and just jump in. Kalee?
Okay, so where am I in my parent? So I have a son named Winston. He actually just turned 3. Aww. And we celebrated him a couple of days ago, and he is obsessed with birthdays now. That's pretty much all that he talks about. So, and then I'm married to Parrish. We've been married it'll be 13 years in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
13 years. And yeah, I'm trying to think of where to start from there as far as where we're at in our stage. He is slowly learning to be more independent. You know, I think he's always been independent, but now he's starting to realize like he can make his own decisions and he has his own emotions, and they come out randomly and sporadic, and he is learning how to play with friends now. So you know how in the beginning stages it's kind of like they played side by side, but they call it like parallel playing or something like that. Now he's actually like, his imagination is starting to come out, and they like, there's a bear coming, or they're running around and chasing each other, and so that's been really sweet to like witness and see him grow in that area. So yeah, he is 3 years and he's a lot of joy. What's really sweet is his name means Stone of Joy, and that has been portrayed in his whole journey of childhood so far, from the first 3 years. Lots of joy. All the ups and downs, of course, but lots of joy too. So
Love that. Sweet. Anouk?
That's awesome. I chuckled when you were talking about the meaning of his name, because Luna is obviously derived of the moon. And we didn't realize that when we named her. I mean, we knew, obviously, that Luna was somewhere, with moon and whatever, but in the Bible, biblical naming is really important, and we really hadn't thought that much about it. So when Luna was born, the first 18 months, we basically didn't sleep because our moon child loved the night so much that she just wanted to be awake so much. She's sleeping better now. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's been fun. Luna turned 2 a couple weeks ago. She's learning to love her birthdays, I'm sure. I'm married to Carlos I think we've been married for 8 years this year. So also a bit of time has passed. I'm originally from Germany, so I moved here 8 years ago this summer. Yeah, so after we got married, I moved here. and have been moving around. We are still adjusting to parenthood, I think. I don't know if you're ever done adjusting to parenthood.
No.
Because it keeps changing.
Yeah, just when you think you're comfortable, then they're in a different stage of life. And you're like, oh, we have to figure this one out now.
So yeah, that's where we're at, and learning all the things. Luna loves to jump. She recently has mastered that skill and is now jumping around everywhere, which has been super fun.
A little frog.
Yeah,
I love it.
We've had, in the episode that we recorded where we talked about the different stages, we started with birth to 5. And I don't know if y'all know this, but Gretchen is a pediatrician.
Oh,
So I love the credibility that brings to our conversations. And she just she's always looking for the research and the data, and she has a very scientific mind. I'm curious, and I would like to think that my mind is scientific, but I'm not in our sourdough science.
I know.
But I see, though, how different we are with that, because you're very meticulous and scheduled and measuring everything out to the gram and the minute. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. So we approach science differently, but you bring a lot of credibility and also experience, because you have 5 children in every season of life: adult, college, high school,
Elementary.
Like, you're just really seasoned. So in our episode where we talked about birth to 5, we hit on some of like the really kind of, we said universal, but like the things that are pretty much like the hot topics. So things like potty training, sleep training,
Building rhythms.
yes, establishing rhythms and routines. That might be a good place to start, but we can kind of be broad in that and just say, like, what are some of the challenges that you guys face in parenting? Because y'all are raising your children in a time that was very different from our first experiences with parenting, because in 2008, and when was your firstborn?
2003.
Right. So in those years, we didn't have social media and our phones in our pockets all the time. Like, our source of information was books and people just telling us what they did. So I'd love to hear from you guys, just in like broadly, what do you guys see as some of like the challenges, the main challenges you're experiencing right now? And then we can kind of branch into where I'm curious is, what is it like navigating that with the social media element, or just today? Because Anouk, you don't have social media, but you're still, so I think it's interesting. We've got a boy mom and a girl mom. We've got one with social media, one without. So I feel like y'all are going to offer some good perspective. But challenge-wise, what do you find to be priorities right now?
And even like practical challenges with parenting, but then also like all the voices challenges, you know, or kind of expectations or kind of pressures and things that you may feel.
Yeah, so when Luna was born, I was still on social media. And so even the comparison between like the beginning of her life and now are interesting, because I think in the first few months when you're just trying to figure out, you know, what a baby is and even, you know, how they're supposed to sleep. I think sleep was probably the biggest thing for me in the first, when did you start sleeping through? 18 months. So we didn't do any sleep training, although I was constantly encouraged and told by friends or family that I should probably do some sort of sleep training. And my motherly instinct / gut feeling just told me, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And so I started taking like notes from Taking Care of Babies. I think that's a very common one that you look at as far as like sleep schedules. And I started to get really almost obsessive about the like sleep scheduling, as far as, okay, if she didn't sleep 30 minutes, my whole day is ruined, you know? And I think I tend to have that type of mindset where I just need to be careful to, if I have like a suggested timeline, I like to have a routine, so I like to go by it. But if it doesn't work out, I need to also learn to be flexible and just go with the flow. And so then fast forward to, I think, when did I go off social media? Sometime last year. So she was a year and a couple months old. that was really nice, just not having any of the noise anymore. I still had friends here and like close relatives that were telling me, you know, she's still not sleeping through the night, maybe you need to let her cry it out. And I was like, okay. And then I just wouldn't, because yeah, I just never felt good about it. And then recently I think Carlos said to me, or maybe I don't know, sometimes I do go on Facebook Marketplace, of whatever the first thing is that I see, I'm like, ooh, what is this? This is interesting, because I haven't been on social media. So I saw this article of, I don't know, it was like a Danish study that showed that crying out isn't really beneficial or something like that. And I was like, okay. I felt like almost like my heart was like, okay, I listened to myself. And I don't want to throw shade on anybody that chooses to cry it out. And, you know, I think the friends and family that have come to us to say this or to encourage us, we're truly meaning to encourage us because we were so sleep deprived. But yeah, I think after just so many months, we're not going to try crying it out, so we just decided not to, and now she's sleeping through the night and she's doing great, so we're grateful for that. But now I think the challenges, and for potty training, for example, sorry, I'm jumping quite back and forth, but I never put pressure on potty training in any sort of sense. I always knew, you know, Luna is going to do her thing no matter how, at what timeline. And so we got a potty last year, and we knew it was way too early, but we never pressured her into anything. We just had it there, and we explained to her, you know, this is, you know, you go potty, we take your diaper off, you can sit on it. We tried to encourage her, and at first she didn't like it, so we're like, okay, you know, whatever. But then in the past few months, she kind of started showing interest in it, and so we're like, okay, if you're interested in it, then let's do it. And so she started sitting on it, not peeing, and we just kind of went with it. There was no pressure there. And so now she's at a point where when we're at home, she can run around without a diaper. She will let us know. We don't have to. Sometimes I can tell that she has to go, and so I'm like, you know, you need to go potty, and then she runs to the potty. But most of the time she'll tell us ourselves, which has been really nice. And I think it's because I haven't put pressure on myself, and therefore I haven't put pressure on her. Because I think she can feel it if there's some sort of, I don't know, some sort of pressure energy in the air, where it's like, oh, we have to go, or this has to happen right now. And then she'll feel, I don't know, some sort of disconnect there. I noticed that when I want her to go to sleep faster and she doesn't. It's probably because in my mind I'm like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. And she's like, no. So yeah, I think that's been it as far as like challenges for social media versus not being on social media now. I don't see like the influx of potty training and the algorithm of this is the age around where she should be doing this, or I don't even know when babies are supposed to start potty training, but she's not a baby anymore.
Kalee, what about you?
Yeah, I was listening to you talk about all the challenges of the pressure that you feel as a mom. And when I think about challenges, I kind of split them in two different directions, where you have your seasonal challenge based off of the stage that your child is in, and then you have your consistent challenges. And those consistent challenges are the internal work that you have to do. Like, what's your response towards those seasonal challenges? And when I think about pressure, it comes from this like internal place, this internal work with the Lord in my heart. What's my response going to be as a mom? What are my values? What do I appreciate? That what you said, like the gut feeling as a mom that comes from the way that the Lord designed you. And so it's like, how do I work that out first as I process these seasonal challenges? If that makes sense.
Oh, that's so good.
And I think, you know, I actually talked to you about this, but social media, I'll say this. So when I first had Winston, I relied a lot on my community to help me figure it out. I actually didn't use social media that much. I probably used it as it's definitely a resource in some ways, but I relied more on my friends. I would call them, I would text them, how do I do this, XYZ, how does this work? And that was super helpful. And I don't know why, but potty training, I didn't really reach out to friends. I'm not sure why. I started to use social media as a resource, and that did not go so well. And if the algorithm changes, I typed in potty training and then I watched 2 videos, and now that's all I have.
Right.
So, and I remember this one post that I found, and that's the hard part about social media, is their intentions are good because they believe in their values, but sometimes you question, is their values for financial reasons?
Right.
And I'm all supportive of that too, because you have to financially support your family, but are the reasons why you're sharing certain things and things that can be helpful for your kid because you actually believe it is helpful, or is it helpful financially? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to ask yourself questions when you look at these posts. But at that time I did not know that. I wasn't really thinking through that, but I saw this one post and she's saying, okay, you have to buy a potty for the bathroom, and you have to buy a toilet seat here, and then you have to buy a potty for the living room. You also need a travel potty, and then you need to have a special basket to put all your books for your kids to be distracted, to focus and sit. And then you have to have these types of treats, and then you have to have these types of wipes and these diapers. And I just remember being like, what is happening? And I don't know why. I just let it really lead me to think that that's the way you have to go about potty training. And I remember I talked to you one time, and Jennifer, when we had coffee one time, and I was telling you all about this, and I was like, this is wild. This is the process. And you were like, no, it's not. I don't remember how the conversation led from that moment, but I do remember we kind of ended the conversation with, your son more than anyone else. And that led me to think, it's the internal work that I do in me, and knowing that, and having a connection with Winston to help me decide what's the best direction for what I need to do in whatever season he's in.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, okay, I am just gonna go with my gut and how I know Winston and how he's wired. He doesn't need all that stuff. No. He actually is content. He is able to learn that well. And if I show him and teach him, he'll comprehend it, and whenever he's ready. And so I bought only one potty.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't read any books about it. I didn't even buy books for him to really understand what potty training was. And I didn't do any really stickers or all those things. I just kind of let him learn, and that went so much better than I thought. And so all that to say, it's a constant. I obviously am learning something new every day in parenting. I sometimes every day at the end of the day, I'm like, who am I? What have I done? How am I a mom? Sometimes I'm like, Lord, what is happening right now? Yeah. So I am always learning something, but that was something that I do remember learning. I do, God has gifted me to be Winston's mom, and I have the honor and the joy to help him and let him learn who he is, and I get to support that. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of the journey of when I think of challenges, it's the internal work that helps lead you to respond well with the seasonal circumstance or seasonal challenges that you encounter. So
there's a lot of internal work in that. We learn so much about ourselves going through motherhood. And we learn the places where we do have a lot of confidence. We learn the places where maybe we question ourselves. And I think, I'm curious to hear from y'all, because y'all are both talking about these moments where you said, it didn't sit right with me. And you also had moments where you thought, I want to do this right. I want to do this well. I want to honor my child. But then if you choose to kind of subscribe to what somebody else is telling you is the best way to do it, because I did that with the Baby Wise book, the sleep training, and it was a nightmare from the very beginning. And we've gotten multiple messages from moms whose kids are adults now who say, oh my goodness, they listened to that episode and they said, oh my goodness, I have so much regret. I haven't even dealt with this. I need to deal with this. As adults, because it's so hard. You're doing it for the right reasons because you love your child, and somebody else is telling you from a position of perceived authority that they know what's best. But then it's like we don't trust ourselves, and we don't realize that we have that God-given maternal instinct. So what was it that, I'll ask y'all this. Why do you think moms, maybe you can just answer for yourselves or broadly, why do you think we kind of resist or don't listen to or maybe dismiss our instincts as moms? Where does that come from? And you could speak, again, from your own experience or kind of broadly.
Like, Anouk, how did you say, these are my instincts and I'm choosing to follow them? Like, where did that kind of fortitude and confidence, where do you feel like that came from?
Pregnancy. I never listened to my gut prior. I never trusted myself to do the right thing. I would always rely on other people being my sounding board. I would always either talk to, friends, family, whoever, to just double check, to sanity check, or, am I doing the right thing? I would have a really hard time making a decision. Even, praying, I would sometimes have silence and I wouldn't really know what to do. And maybe like the Holy Spirit would guide me one way or another, but then I would question. And so during pregnancy, for some reason, I just felt like this immense peace over every decision that I made. For whatever reason, I felt like I have been prepared for this.
Wow.
God is with me. I'm not alone. I feel good about the decisions that I'm making, and I'm not afraid.
Wow.
And that was really cool. So going into motherhood, I didn't want to lose that. And there have been moments where I have questioned my gut, where I was like, oh, maybe this was just during pregnancy or something like that. But I don't know. I think the motherly instinct, and I didn't grow up around a lot of kids. My brother's 4 years younger, so he was really the only kid that I grew up around. But all my cousins are the same age as I, are around that same age, and I never babysat. So I didn't really grow up around a lot of kids. So I never had like that motherly instinct or even the desire of becoming a mother. I just thought, you get married, you have kids. It's just all kind of part of the circle of life, if you want to say it that way. And so I never really intentionally was planning on becoming a mother, and that was never like my number one dream, right? But then as soon as I got pregnant, I knew, like the moment I knew. And Carlos was like, you're crazy, you can't know that. I'm like, no, I knew. I knew. And we had done a trip to Seattle for like my work, and I knew I was pregnant. And it was only like a week in. So but I don't know, I just knew.
Wow.
And it was. And so I've just always continued to trust that. And that the Holy Spirit just, started talking to me more closely during pregnancy and during motherhood. So maybe it's because I have now more responsibility. And that's been really interesting, because all of a sudden you come from no kids to now you have a kid and you're fully responsible for that human. I remember at the hospital, they're like, okay, you're ready to go the day after birth. And I was like, what do you mean? Are you sure?
We had that exact same conversation.
I'm grateful for it, but I think pregnancy was definitely the Kickstarter for it. And I'm kind of sad that it took so long to like take root in my life, but I'm glad it's here now. Yeah.
Do you feel like it's gone into other areas of your life, that kind of confidence of, I can trust what I feel like I should do?
Yes, I think with work as well, I've noticed that there's been moments where I would react maybe out of a place of insecurity or just double checking, but I think I can act more confidently, thinking like, oh no, I got this, I know what I'm doing, let me send this email, or something like that.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the gift of agency, you know. Kalee, what about you? What would lead us to resist our maternal instincts? Or just kind of speaking to that, because I think a lot, like for me, I wanted to do the right thing. Air quotes, I wanted to do the right thing, but I ignored my instincts because I didn't have the confidence that would have come from experience, or, I didn't trust my gut in terms of what was right. But you have had moments where you were, for example, like the potty training thing, initially looking at social media.
That is a really good question. I don't know I don't know what leads me to resist. I don't know if it's just pressure, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what that pressure is. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What is that?
I think there's definitely moments where I haven't made the right decision either, right? Where I think later on I'm like, oh, I should have listened to my gut. There's been definitely moments since I've become a parent where kind of like my quote unquote old days in that way have crept back in. Just been overall really like trusting in the process. In the very beginning, like the first few months of Luna's life, I was definitely like, okay, she needs to have tummy time and all of that. But now that she's 2, I feel like she's going to develop the way that she's going to develop. And we're going to be here with her along the way. And if she doesn't have these toy kits that get sent to us, or she doesn't have like active structured playtime 4 days a week, or whatever, it can be fill in the blank, she's gonna be fine. I've just kind of, there's a song from Stephanie Gretzinger where at the end she stops singing and she just says the pressure's off. She like goes away from the microphone and she's like, oh, the pressure's off. And so that's what I've been kind of thinking about. Like, I don't want to have motherhood and pressure like intersect. I just want to be able to live my life. And I saw this quote recently of like, making motherhood magical for you also makes it magical for your children. And I want it to be fun for me. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's overwhelming and overstimulating. But I think you and I are doing our very best in making motherhood and therefore our children's childhood the best that we can make it.
Yeah.
We don't have all the resources. We don't have, and we don't need to.
Right.
And even if we did, we're doing the best thing that we can for our kids.
Yeah, that makes me think of choosing to connect more than the controlling aspect of our motherhood. So it's like I would rather connect with Winston more than control like who he should be. Like let him develop that on his own. So taking that pressure off of all the resources, all the things you need, and just really focus on connection. That's what matters the most.
Yeah, totally. And when you were saying that you're like the inner work that you're doing for the different like seasonal stages, it's so great because you're focusing on yourself, and therefore you can properly focus on your child. And that's more than anyone can ask for.
It's like the oxygen mask idea, like on a plane, Kalee, I think what you just said, like even having the desire to connect above control and understanding that's even an option. Because I think that also says like this is a person. We talk about the personhood of our children and understanding that they're created in the image of God and they're not little creatures that we're supposed to control and mold. They are truly from the beginning. They are their own people. They've got their own personalities, their own giftings, their own intellects, their own strengths and challenges, and those are just things that we just continue to discover, right? It's like the little blocks that like you open one and then there's another one inside, and then you open that and there's another, like it gets more and more like detailed and intricate. It's like getting to know your children. So like you even having the desire and understanding that that's an option to connect with him, because that says that's a person. You understand that even at 3, even at 2, even as an infant, he's still this little human that is yours and you get to care for and love him. So what would you say? Like I even see that as a win.
Oh, a huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so encouraged. Like I feel like so much of the narrative in my generation, 20, 30 years ago with motherhood was so much more about control. And especially I feel like in the Christian culture, it was very much about obedience and control. And I'm just so encouraged talking about connection and the magic of childhood. Like that just like makes my heart want to like explode with joy. Like I just am so encouraged that that is kind of what's bubbling in your heart and mind about motherhood and parenting, and that you don't feel this pressure to control this child. That was the narrative that we were given,
and that's still swirling around, and it's awful. And I get myself in trouble on Instagram because I say things in the comment section to people that post this stuff, but somebody
So do you all still do you feel that in your generation, like in the Christian culture? Do you feel or like, see that control,
first time
obedience and that narrative much at all, or amongst other parents?
I think it's more me making sure that I'm not controlling the situation.
Okay.
Because I might have an idea in mind and it doesn't go the way that I want it to go.
Yeah.
And he's so young, of course he doesn't understand every step, but sometimes I can lean towards you need to do it this way or this way. And I will say it's not perfect every day where I say, oh, I chose connection. Yes. I mean, literally last week I had a really hard day and I let control win. And obviously that didn't land well. For the end of the day, I realized, oh, wow, I really let maybe some of my insecurities get in the way. But I will say a win, even on those long days, is reflecting on that and trying my hardest every day when I have weak moments, because there are a lot of weak moments, to practice readjusting. Like, if it happens, I hope one day I'm quick enough to readjust my perspective and my thoughts and my reactions to where it leads to this place of connection. And a value of mine really is to cultivate a spirit-led heart in every direction. And another value of mine with Winston is I want to connect so much that he trusts me in every stage of life, not just right now because he's so young, he has to rely on help, but even when he's in his teens and when he's older, when he's married, like I hope there's a connection that he trusts me. And that to me, I hope build stronger than the control aspects of oh, you did this right, or you got the right answer for that, or the best food here and the greatest sleep here. Like those things are important for sure in motherhood, but I guess my hope is that the connection piece builds stronger then. So yeah, I don't know if I feel pressure from the outside world as far as control. I say that now and then maybe tomorrow I'll be like, oh yeah, I do feel that actually. Actually this does make me feel a little pressured in this way, but I think it's more me. Like I focus too much on my own self sometimes when it comes to motherhood.
Right.
So yeah.
I agree that the pressure that I put on myself is the biggest one of all. There's not really any outside pressure. I think people are well-meaning and they're just trying to help. And my inner voice, my inner pressure is definitely the biggest one. I remember reading something in a parenting book called Rupture and Repair, where when it's inevitable that we're going to mess up with our kids because we are not perfect, and it will happen as much as we try to not to. But something really cool is when you do rupture the relationship in quote unquotes, an important part of that process is to also go up to your child and repair that rupture and to apologize and say, hey, mommy was tired, or whatever the situation was, to go up and show accountability and to apologize to that little human. Because how else are they going to learn how to apologize later on in life if they're not modeled that? I think, I love what you talked about building trust throughout their whole life. That's the goal, right? You're not just trying to get through parenting so that you can be an empty nester. You're trying to get through parenting so that you can have relationship with your kids for the rest of your life.
And building trust comes from those weak moments too, like saying, I'm going to say sorry first, and I'm going to recognize that I did this, and it shows a really sweet example of how to respond in those weak moments, so that maybe one day that influences Luna or Winston, like, oh, I had a weak moment, but I can still do this, you know.
The other day, I just have one story to share that was really cute. We had done a road trip from Alabama back to here for my graduation, and we had been with people all week, and I'm normally an extrovert and I love being around people, but I just felt like touched out. I was overstimulated, and we were in an 8.5-hour car ride back with Luna. She had only slept for 30 minutes, so I was definitely at a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going crazy. Carlos was like, let's put on church. I was like, yes, let's. So we put on church, but even the music, so Luna started to get whiny because she wanted to listen to Taya. She loves Taya.
That is great.
So cute. But Taya wasn't singing that day, I guess. Or the music was done, and so I just noticed, okay, I'm getting too overstimulated. I'm sitting in the back. So I told Carlos, I said, I think I'm about to have a freak out. I'm going to put on some headphones and I'm just going to listen to some ocean waves or whatever. But the way that I'm sitting in my car is my left elbow is kind of on her car seat because it's like encroaching into my seat. And so I have my headphones in and I'm just listening to ocean waves, and she puts her little hand on my arm and she starts stroking it. And I had to like really tried to not cry because it was so sweet. She felt that I was, you know, overstimulated, and just even though I felt touched out, like her little hand like stroking my arm, it was so cute. And so I think building that connection in early life, and even like if I apologize to Luna, she like kind of looks at me, or she like goes where she keeps playing. I'm like, okay, did you hear that I said that I'm sorry? And she's like not answering. But I think it does build a foundation for later on, hopefully.
And you will need that, because well beyond your role of authority in their lives, you will really need to have influence, and you have to protect that. And that comes by the way that you steward your voice and your authority, and you know what you choose to control and allow and limit and permit too, all of that. And I feel like that's something we've talked a lot about, especially like with Amelia. She'll be 18 in November. Last night she was out meeting some friends. She went and volunteered at a cat shelter and got to feed kittens, and like it was so fun. Like she's just kind of telling me what she's doing now. And then after that she said, Mom, some girls invited me to meet up at cookout. I was like, okay. And there's a part of me sometimes with her now where I think, wow, she still tells me what she's going to do instead of her just going and doing it, which I would probably be okay about it, because I'm going to be looking at Life 360. I saw you went to cookout, which is fun. Like she makes her own money, and she has friend things and social things, and, you know, manages work and school and all of that. But there are still so many parts of her life where I need her to allow me a voice of influence. And the more I like grasp and pull and tug and try to restrain, it just really goes in the opposite direction. And I am grateful. I think Lucy will have an easier time with that, because I'm learning a lot about that with Amelia. That's just kind of what happens as you have kids. But I really need to retain that influence in her life. And I don't think I did not understand. Like we didn't have these conversations, and I just didn't have an understanding of how the need for influence would be so dependent on how I handled the younger years. I didn't understand.
I think I'm trying to remember where I read this, because we're reading a book right now together.
Heartfelt Discipline.
Heartfelt Discipline. And I really liked what he was talking about us parents. Our job is to essentially till the soil, or prepare the soil for the word, for the seed to eventually take root in our kids' lives. And at first our life really is directing our kids, but then later on that changes to influence. Because when they grow up, we're not so much directing them anymore, or we're not telling them as much of what they need to be doing anymore, but they come to us saying, hey Mom, what should I do? You know, as they grow older and are trying to find their own voice. And I thought that was really cool. As far as, yes, we are all building towards that influence of building trust early on, directing them in the ways of the Lord, tilling the soil, making sure the soil is ready for when the seed is ready to take root. And then we can start influencing or continue influencing. I guess direction and influence kind of goes hand in hand, and then influence kind of takes over after that.
One of the things I remember when my kids were at your ages was when I would have a blow up or a mess up and then I apologize. I struggled with so much guilt from that. And like it took me a long time to kind of figure out how to deal with that guilt and to not feel that. Do you all feel that?
Yeah.
And what is that process? What has that looked like?
You can go first. So I have time to internally process. Because that's a really great question.
Well,
Yeah,
I was
100%.
going to ask how'd you do it? Because yes, I definitely, the guilt stays with me for a long time, and I think I am in therapy about that as well, personally, just because I just need to learn how to forgive myself in general, right? And so moving on, that's something that I haven't truly learned yet. I'm trying to get better at it, but it's hard. You know, we've read some books, Try Softer, which is a great book. It talks about the window of tolerance, and when you're outside of it, it's just, you know, you just live in a lot of stress there. So, you know, trying to do work on yourself, and what you were saying is working on yourself first, and being a parent to your child goes hand in hand. So kind of continuing to work on yourself, probably. But I don't know that the guilt will ever...
That's what I was going to ask. Does it ever go away?
I think for
you
me,
guys have been in this longer than
there's a hint of and there will be things that like I'll remember, and then I'm a verbal processor, so I would verbally process with God and be like, there's so many times I would go to my room and just have verbal conversations in the midst of the day, you know, and I'm like, God, why am I feeling so guilty? Or talk about, and so kind of what he showed me was that when I live in guilt, I'm really focusing on myself and my own ability. And that when he says I'm forgiven, I'm forgiven. And I need to go live in freedom with my children. And if I live in guilt, it isn't paying penance for anything I've done. All it's doing is stealing the joy that I could have in the next moment. And so I kind of realized like the guilt was kind of some pride in me, that thinking that I should be able to do it right every day. And I don't know if you all do Enneagram at all, but I'm an Enneagram 1, and so it's very much this right and wrong, and you know, this perfection, and why am I failing again, you know. And so I apologize to my children so much, and I continue. I mean, even in their 20s, I'll be like, I'm sorry, I should not have said that way, you know. Most of the time they're like, what are you talking about, you know. So I didn't even sense it that way, but really trying to get to the root and realizing that guilt was stealing the joy and the moments. And children are so quick to forgive. My reaction would be yelling. And it's interesting because it's the thing I dislike the most, and the thing that makes me so sad when I see other people yell. And I'm like, why? It's like why do I do the things that I don't want to do, you know? And it was a lot of work and a lot of years. And I think that's what motherhood is so sanctifying, right? Like it just, I think that's one of the reasons marriage, motherhood, like
Yes.
God designed it to be like, otherwise you would just think you're great and can do it all yourself.
Oh boy. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
What would be helpful for y'all right now in the season of parenting that you're in? What do you, and again, this could be resources, community, practical support. This is as broad as you want it to be, but personal. What would be most helpful for you?
I personally think right now in the season, what has been helpful for me is my community, for sure. I actually learn a lot by watching other moms and how they parent. And I am very grateful for the community that I have because they teach me a lot about myself. And then seeing them parent their young ones encourages me, and to see a different perspective is really helpful. I have this one friend who every time I hang out with her, I'm always learning something new because she is just so good at being a mom. And I mean, we all are, but just the way she approaches motherhood and the way she treats her girls is just so encouraging. And she has a girl that's a little bit older than Winston, and so I get to kind of see what's ahead in a way, and that is really cool and encouraging to see, like, oh, that's what I get to look forward to.
Right.
And my friend, she's always just like, she has her days, you know, she'll be like, today was hard, but she still has so much joy in the way that she loves her kids. And it's such a huge blessing to watch that and learn how she navigates certain moments when things get emotional, or when she wants to teach her young one to be brave, you know. And I learned from her just recently. I saw her go to her little girl, and she was like, okay, we were at a playground, and she was like, okay, what's your next step? You know, like little things like that teach me, like, oh, that's how you teach bravery, like, for a young one.
Yes.
Instead of controlling, because that's my first instinct is, okay, no, you need to do this. Okay, wait, be careful. Okay, make sure you look around. This is really high. Like, she's like, I'm a 6 on the Enneagram, so I see all the possibilities.
Yes.
And I want him to know all of them, but that doesn't help him, because then he just is more afraid. And so I recently heard that question, and I was like, wow, that's such a good way, because now it teaches him how to think about the process, how to be bold, and also just learn, like, how would he do it? What would your next step be? Because that's basically life in general. You have to ask yourself consistently, what's my next step? What's my response going to be? You know, like, that is a constant thing as we get older. But
and that's issuing a measure of companionship and confidence in your child. I'm here with you. I see that there's an unknown, and I want to hear what you're going to do.
Yes, and
I'm here.
So anyways, good. I would say that's been really helpful for me, and so I think that's just what I'm going to continue doing, hanging out with my friends.
So having people who set that example, positive influence, community. And I would say even meeting with other moms is super helpful. You know, I think Instagram or social media can be a good resource in some ways, but I do think there's something really special when you're face to face with someone and processing things, a mentor or another mom that has done life with a kid, you know, and they know all the process and the steps. So,
and how do you navigate kind of making time for that, you know, with work and with the baby, and, you know, do you say, I'm going to meet with somebody every week, or
I wish I could.
Yeah,
that would be really fun. Well, I think with other moms, you just kind of try to schedule when you can to go to the park, or you know. And it's really funny, because even if you do hang out with other moms, you might only hang out with them for really only 2 minutes, you know?
Right. That's so the conversation, right?
Because your toddlers going in different directions, and it's like you need walkie-talkies when you go to the park.
That's a great idea.
It's like when our kids are really tiny, they do the parallel play. Yes. Like you're parallel mothering. It's like a parallel momming.
It really is. It's so hilarious.
I see you over there.
Hey, we're in this together, you know? And that in itself is encouraging too.
Right.
You know? So just do the best you can. And I know I have mentioned to Parrish that I do need some time to, like, get away and take care of myself. And so sometimes it is with friends, or sometimes it's, okay, I'm going to go to a coffee shop and read, or I'm going to go just for an hour, you know. It's not always easy. That happens maybe once a month sometimes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, finding time can be hard to navigate with work and life and also being with the kids. So, that's a good question. Does it get easier?
I feel like, in a way, it does.
Which part?
of making time. Or I think you realize how much of a priority it is. And then, like, for now, like, I think my husband realizes how much of a priority it is, because he's an Enneagram 5 extreme introvert. So he doesn't want to, like, go out and do all the, you know, so he's go have a coffee time, go, you know, go for a walk. It gets easier because you learn yourself more, and your marriage grows, and you learn each other more, and then your kids get older, and there's times when it's not as demanding, I would say, as far as the time, you know. But it is interesting, like, I would have a lot of alone time when they were little, and they would go to bed fairly early, and I was kind of a night owl. So I would have kind of from 8 to midnight to kind of do projects and crafts and creative things. And I feel like it, but then they get older and the teens stay up late. So the younger ones would go to bed, and then the teens stay up. And so then you're up talking and having all these conversations, which is great. But then you realize, like, oh, I'm not doing any of my creative stuff.
Or I'm never alone.
Yes. Yes.
I'm cleaning up the kitchen at 11 o'clock at night, and we're still chatting. There are times when my ears are just tired.
From all the talking.
There's so much talking, but would I trade that?
Right.
No, because I need to know I need to know what's going on. I need the tea, as the kids say.
And that's building the connection.
It is.
Yes,
it is.
Too. Yeah.
And there's something about those, like, we talk about this a lot. There's something about those bedtime hours. Like, and this happens when they're young too. All of a sudden, it's pillow confession time. They lay down and you go to say goodnight. And it's not this, like, 10-minute routine of we read our book and we snuggle and we say our prayers. It's all of a sudden, like, you see the look in their eyes and you're like, what is it that I need to know? I'm not leaving till you tell me. I can do that with Lucy. Sometimes I'll say goodnight to her, and she doesn't want to keep me up, but I can tell, like, I'm not leaving until you tell me whatever's happening. And then it's a 30-minute. I'm like, what if she went to bed? What if she laid here after I walked out the, you know, the light is off, the door is closed, it's quiet, she's alone in her thoughts, it's nighttime. And then she's got all of that in her mind that she never shared. And I miss out on, you know, hearing something really important. But yeah, the nighttime chit-chats are important. And building bedtime, maybe even anticipating that. So as they start to kind of transition into being more chatty at night. Oh, that's sweet though. Anouk, what is something that would be helpful for you right now? Or things that are helpful?
I was smiling because I think our experiences have been so vastly different. I want that. I want well, let me preface. I think there also are maybe cultural differences from, like, my experience in Germany, where I would hang out with my best friends often, like at least once a week. So coming into motherhood has been incredibly surprising, and I took notes on this, of how lonely it could feel. I did not realize how lonely I was going to be becoming a mother. And it's not necessarily in ways that people might think. I have really amazing friends, right? And including friends without kids who have shown up in amazing ways. But I think I expected that having friends who are also parents would automatically mean we'd walk through this season closely together. And that hasn't really been my experience. I've had moments where I felt a bit on the outside, or, you know, maybe not as connected as I thought I would be. And I don't want to say that with any, like, blame or anything like that. I think we're all just trying to do our best, trying to survive in our own parent bubble. right? But coming from Germany with the idea of community, just constantly having like a village around you, plus neither of our families are here. So Carlos's parents are in Tennessee, my parents are back in Europe, so we've just been, you know, pretty much on our own, and we felt it. And so, you know, I think one of the biggest lessons for me has been learning that community doesn't always look the way I expect it to be. There have definitely been beautiful moments and people that have been helpful, but I think I've just had to adjust my expectations of what motherhood or parenthood in that regard would look like. You know, sometimes you have to be the one to reach out and communicate your needs. And I think I am an Enneagram 1 as well, and I'm not great with communicating my needs. I think coming from, I don't know, it's hard to put into words of what I truly was expecting, but at the same time I also want to say that I wouldn't want to change anything at all, because being a mom has stretched me in the best ways and has grown me in the way that I never thought I could. And the love that I have for Luna and the bond that we've been able to build, because it's just been the three of us essentially, is so strong. Like every morning we wake up Luna together and she's like, snuggle mama daddy, and then we just snuggle in bed together for like 10 minutes. There's no time rush for us to like go anywhere. There's no stressors. There's no, okay, let's get your diaper changed, let's get you ready for whatever. But we take intentional time, and she has that trust with her mom and her dad because we've been through it together for the past 2 years. So yeah, I would love more community as far as like frequency goes, but I'm also happy with where I'm at. I think I've just managed to exist in this, I don't know, American community. I don't want to call it that, because I'm sure there's communities here as well where it is similar to what I was expecting, but no, I don't know. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't mean to, but I was just trying to.
No, I think that's probably, it's what a lot of moms feel, especially if you have been kind of out and about and maybe working or in different environments, and then you're like, I'm home inside these walls every day and
sleeping.
Right, and I'm not sleeping. And one of my mentors, she says a woman alone in her home is a target for the enemy. And so when you're home alone with your children, then the enemy is just like, oh, I can get her doubting and you know, and all of that. So I think a lot of women feel that. When you were talking about Luna coming in the morning, one of the gifts I didn't realize was going forward, like when she is in her 20s and living her life, the bond that creates with your spouse of that memory. Like I did not realize, I thought, oh, I'm soaking up my daughter. But then the fact that Greg and I share those memories, and she doesn't have that memory, but we do, and it is the sweetest recollection of just the two of us talking about all those special moments. I mean, it just makes us cry because we're like just so thankful that we have that together. And so, you know, a lot of people talk about, you know, putting your marriage first, and yes, I totally believe that. But I think in feeling more and more of the empty nest, realizing we prioritized our family together, and we did so much together because we don't have family here either. And so every vacation, I mean, all the things, we were always all together, and realizing how much that bonded our marriage. And we may be out of the box people, but we never took a vacation in 25 years, just the two of us. I guess then 23 with the kids. We never went without our kids because we felt this thing of, we're not going to have this, you know? And So for us and our personalities like that worked, and it bonded us so much more than I think I even anticipated. Like it just makes for sweet memories.
What you were saying about how your children won't remember those like really early memories, but you and your spouse will. That's one of the things that Carrie and I have kind of realized is we've seen so many couples get divorced, and there's nobody to share those memories with anymore. No one to say, remember when she used to say, you know, this way, or remember when we went there and, you know, she dropped your keys in the lake. And, you know, but you lose the other half of that memory because part of what keeps it alive is the sharing of it. I mean, you could retell the story, obviously, but there's nobody to like. So we've kind of used that as motivation to continue fighting for our marriage. And it has been, in total honesty, our marriage has really had some very difficult seasons through the years. It is by God's grace alone that we,
Amen.
And Gretchen, your influence, I wasn't expecting that.
It's okay.
Your influence has had such a significant impact in the condition of my home and my heart and our marriage and our family and you know, of course, our kids. So if there's any advice or encouragement I could give you, it would be that fighting through the hard times, if when they come, when, it is so worth it. It'll be such a victory to have your family and, you know, all the things that come with that down the road. Do you want to wrap up your time with some resources that you would recommend, or things that if you feel like would be helpful for listeners to check out? Or if there's advice that you would give your younger self, you can kind of pick.
I do feel like if I could tell myself, and it's something I'm doing every day, but really setting aside time for myself is really important, because those times are moments where I can process things with the Lord. And processing things with the Lord is the most fruitful thing when it comes to who I am, what is my identity. It comes through the Lord, letting that be first, and then that kind of influences all the other areas. And I will say I had a really powerful moment with the Lord where he revealed a lot of scripture, and just this prophetic moment where he just revealed to me the simplicity but also the depth through Deuteronomy 6, where it says, like, love the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul. Some of it says strength, but it comes across very simple, but it's actually really hard at the same time. And I think that's the beauty of connecting with the Lord, is he wants it, he makes it simple, but also you have to work hard for that too. And so I would say, like, as I'm internally processing things, finding something that scripture that helps you every day has been a huge help in my life, of like telling myself I just have to love the Lord with all my heart, mind, and soul. And from that, if I get that right in myself, then I can see God in the outside parts of my life, if that makes sense. So setting aside time, I think it's really important if you can. I know it's so hard. I sometimes it happens once a month, sometimes it's once a week, and I'm like, wow, sometimes it's twice, you know. But I really believe in that so much. The oxygen net mask, like taking care of yourself, and you are able to take care of others really well. And so if that means getting up 20 minutes early before your kid wakes up, or even 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. So I'm going to drink my cup of coffee, and that's it. You know? So I have found that has been really helpful in my rhythm as a mom and as a wife too. And so resources, I will say, it's not even a parenting book. It's A Shepherd Looks at Psalms 23. Have you guys heard of this book? It is such a good book. I recommend it to anyone. You don't even have to be a mom. It's incredible. And it's actually about a guy who is a shepherd, and he takes Psalms 23 line by line, and he just opens it up to why David said that. You know, my rod and my staff, what was the importance to that? Why does it comfort them? You know, you anoint my head with oil. What was the purpose of that for his flock? And seeing the perspective of Jesus as our shepherd is a beautiful picture, and just very, very encouraging. Yeah, I would say that's definitely one. And then you mentioned earlier Try Softer.
Yeah.
It's a really good book, and this one it's more of the internal work, releasing the pressure and having more gentleness to yourself. Like people say try harder, try better. Her approach is, why don't you try softer? And so it's coming from, how do you have compassion rather than frustration, and what's your response going to be? And if your response is typically anger or you're impatient, how do you process that to understand why your response led to that? Because there's probably something there, the way you were raised or the way you were taught or trauma that might have happened, it influences all the reactions that you have. And so that has been a huge help in
I'm gonna check that one out.
my journey as a mom, having a softer approach to my reactions, I guess. So I think those would be my last thoughts, my final thoughts.
Thank you. That's good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Super honored. Thank you.
I second what Kalee said. I do have 2 other books that have really impacted my personal walk. It's a 2-book series, I think, called Hind's Feet in High Places.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that book.
Our friend Taya recommended this book to me, and it's rocked my world. It's rocked my world. So the second one is called Mountain of Spices. And I'm only a quarter of the Mountain of Spices book in, but I can already, I already love the beginning of the book so much. So, taking time for yourself, being in the Word, reading books that help you become a better person, so you can be a better parent.
Just to be encouraged.
Yeah,
we all need that.
And friends, friends. No matter how often you see them, keep them close and and find time for each other, with or without kids.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so good.
I think even though you guys are still young in your parenting journey, there's so much wisdom
Yes.
and encouragement and vulnerability that y'all have shared today, and that's why we asked you to come.
Thank you.
Because we knew you had that to offer. So thank you.
Thank you so
big
much.
thanks.
And we
So
love you
good.
guys.
Yes. Thanks for finding a moment with us.